So, Herbie.
Nice to see you, Mike. Thank you very much for inviting me to this amazing event. Debbie, God bless you times a billion. And thank you, Mike.
Oh, no, we're so excited to have you. We really are. But Debbie gave you a fantastic introduction, talked about you being an actor, producer, director. I understand you run the Classic TV Preservation Society.
Yes.
Which is amazing. That's wonderful. But before we get into all that stuff, can you tell us your story? Who are you? Who is Herbie? Where'd you grow up?
I'm Batman.
What was your experience? We knew it! We knew it!
No, I grew up in Rochester, New York, which is upstate, in a beautiful Italian-American family, a big family. Both my mother and father had like 10 brothers and sisters each, so every night was a party. And I loved television, grew up in the inner city, kind of a tough neighborhood. And we didn't have a lot of money. So I just gravitated toward the TV, like many of us did in the 60s. It was a tough time. We were all looking for magic escape or whatnot. That's why there were so many shows like Star Trek and Twilight Zone, The Addams Family, Bewitched, Archie Genie, all different kinds of shows that were so different than life because we needed to escape. So I was attracted to that, and I knew that I would want to be a part of that somehow. So I studied TV and film and theater at Nazareth College, now Nazareth University of Rochester, and then went to UCLA, came to Los Angeles for a visiting student at UCLA in television and film, and then went back to Rochester and then moved formally back here. That's the brief story.
Okay. I think we all relate. I think we all were kids sitting in front of television sets. I just think I remember when we got our color TV.
Oh, big time, yeah.
And it's so funny because I'll talk to my grandkids and say, you guys don't even know. You don't know what it was like to have 6 channels, and rabbit ears on top of your television and moving
3, essentially 3 or 4.
Well, 3 essential channels, but
yeah.
KTLA,
yeah.
Some of these other channels for Los Angeles. So I'm curious. Okay, I also was into acting when I was in high school. I was in lots of plays, did some directing in college. Talk about that. What was your acting background, and how did that inform what you wanted to do later on?
Well, I would always be a ham as a kid. We'd go out to eat at a restaurant, and my parents would, "Where's Herbie J?" I would be dancing for the table next to us. And for some reason, I always had to check out the bathrooms wherever we went. Oh, yeah, go look at the bathroom. But it was, I always liked acting. I was a very dramatic, melodramatic kid. I liked entertaining. We used to have a factory that was a line of factories in our neighborhood. Actually, the original Xerox, which was, what was it? The original name was Helloid? That was right across the street from us. So we had the original Xerox building right across the street from us. Kodak Home Offices was up the block. We had IBM, French's Mustard. Rochester was a very industrial city, and our neighborhood was the center of that. So anyway, there was like this stage or factory dock where they would bring, stuff, and so we would put on shows, just like the Andy Hardy movies, with Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
And, hey, let's put on a show. Well, I was that guy. And that's really where it started. And then in school, I played Snoopy and Santa Claus and Rudolph in local plays. And Jesus, actually, I played Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. That was a big one.
That's a tough act.
So, and then I studied actually formally with Nazareth University in acting and directing. And I wanted to go into television more than theater. Theater's like New York. I loved theater, but I really, really loved TV. And that's why I came to Los Angeles. And that's why I worked at NBC as a page. Because I heard that job was the internship job to get if you wanted to get into the entertainment industry. Not CBS Page, not ABC Page, but an NBC Page.
Okay, so just so you know, this is so funny. I played Charlie Brown in high school.
And you're a good man, Charlie Brown?
You're a good man, Charlie Brown, of course. We will not be performing for you guys, just so you know. Supper time.
Supper time.
Supper time was my favorite part of that performance.
Sixth grade, yes.
We did it in high school, and we did it to where I would take the supper dish and throw it over my head, and it would spin in the air, and Sippy would catch it. It was just so much fun. We were
Well, somehow, remember like the little piano that Linus had, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I had one of those in my house.
Oh, cute.
I mean, like before I was in sixth grade, and I'm like, wait a minute. So there it was. Some things are meant to be. So that little piano was waiting for me to play Snoopy, even though I wasn't Linus, but they needed it for the play. So.
Oh no, we had a wonderful time. That's so much fun that you were in that. Okay, so now, just so we're all on the same page, explain what a page does. I have no idea what a page does.
So that we're all on the same page, no pun intended.
Yes, no pun intended.
A page is an NBC guest relations representative or usher. You know, you go to the movies and you see the people seating you. Well, that was what I did for the Johnny Carson show, the Golden Girls, Family Ties. As a matter of fact, it was at Family Ties when I first moved to Los Angeles. I went to a taping of Family Ties and I stopped a page, Horace Smith, he's gone to heaven now, and I said, hey, you, I'd really like to do what you're doing. No, you don't. You don't want to do what I'm doing. He goes, yeah, I really do. He goes, no, you don't. It doesn't pay anything. I said, I don't care. So I said, could you help me get that job? And usually when you got a job as a page, whether CBS or ABC or NBC, you knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. You know, Lucille Ball's nephew's gardener's best friend, something like that. Well, I didn't know anybody except this page. So he got me the job ultimately 6 months later, every 2 weeks. Hi, is there an opening yet? No, Herbie, call back. Hi, is there an opening yet? No, Herbie, call back. I did that for 6 months and I got the job. So, because of that guy.
So what I'm getting from that is you have to be part of the picture and you have to be persistent.
Well, that's what Hollywood is about. I mean, today, oh gosh. I mean, I don't know what a young 23-year-old would do today to try to make it in LA. There's so much competition. There's much more opportunity to broadcast yourself literally on YouTube or, you know, with the internet and all the craziness of social media today. It's easier and yet it's more competitive. Not to mention just living in LA. You know, moving to LA, the expenses at 23. That's why you see kids 5, 6 in a studio apartment, you know, especially in Santa Monica. I was paying $238 at the corner of 17th and Santa Monica Boulevard in Santa Monica for my studio apartment. And now that's probably about, I don't know, $1,500, whereas the bedrooms, just for studio, or maybe more. God, it's got to be more.
Oh, yeah, it's more.
It's got to be more. So $4,000, $4,500 for a 2-bedroom in Santa Monica. It's just crazy. Because my cousin from Erie Street is where I grew up in Rochester. My cousin and my aunt moved to Santa Monica. So they lived on Montana and 6th, and I lived on 17th in Santa Monica, and then 5th in Wilshire. Had it not been for them, I would not have been able to do it anyway either.
You know, you bring up an interesting point because it seems like the dividing line is gone. It used to be that there were people who were in show business and people that watch TV. And that line has disappeared. And now everybody can be online. Everybody can have a YouTube channel. Everybody, so that you're right, the competition now is so much stiffer.
Yeah, I mean, if you were an actor in my day or decades before my day, you studied, you know, Shakespeare or whatever, you went to college and did plays, or you did local plays. Today you do a video, and sometimes not in the most non-vulgar way, and you become a star. And it's not a good precedent to have out there, you know, right. Especially because talent should be rewarded, not just being accessible or finding the right person. There should be a measure of talent, but that's not, there is talent, but it's not, the ratio is more who you know as opposed to talent.
Right, right.
And or how much you get out there.
and so much of it is excitement. Who can do the silliest, stupidest things to generate their audience and keep their audience
More and
hooked.
more shocking.
Yeah, or more shocking. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I told a friend recently that I once almost knocked down Susan Anton. We were at a celebrity thing, and a friend of mine got us tickets, and I was walking with my wife, and Susan Anton, who is huge, she's enormous, she stopped right in front of me, and I didn't stop, and I almost knocked her over.
She liked little guys, though, Dudley Moore.
Yes, Dudley Moore, absolutely, yes. So I'm curious about some of the people that you have met, because you were right there in the mix. Tell us about some of the people you met, and maybe something that we don't know about them.
And we're going to put this on YouTube? Okay. Well, I always loved Elizabeth Montgomery, first of all, on Bewitched. I mean, she was, you know, the ideal for so many. You know, again, the whole magic thing, looking for magic escape. She loved Darren, you know, on Bewitched. He was a witch who could do anything. And she loved this regular guy. He didn't, you know, he was just a guy. And she loved him for him, and not for what he could buy her. So that always was fascinating to me. As a kid, I loved the magic, but later on, I saw that there was much more going on. So she was ultimately, you know, my dream to meet, and I not only met her, but I became friends with her, and ended up writing the original Bewitched book, and then Bewitched Forever, which are companion books to that show, and then I did her biography. Two different biographies, one of which I have with me in paper form, and the other in audiobook form. And she was, you know, the daughter of Robert Montgomery, you know, a famed movie star of the 30s and 40s, and Elizabeth Allen, who was a Broadway actress. So she could have been arrogant, easily, with her Hollywood background, but she wasn't. What you saw in Bewitched is who she really was. She was that down-to-earth person, which made her the star. I mean, she made witches likable and believable because she was likable and believable. And so I was originally going to write a reunion movie for Bewitched. And she didn't want to do that. And I said, well, how about we do a book, you know? And so her husband was going to do Bill Asher, who was the director-producer on that show, Bewitched, he was going to do a remake of Bewitched. And I was going to be one of the writers on that. But then the financing fell through. It was going to be in the UK. They lost the financing, whatever. And that's when I thought of, let's do the book. But how am I going to get to Elizabeth Montgomery, right? So Bill, who was divorced from her at the time, but they still remained friends because they had 3 beautiful children who are just as unaffected, by the way, as Elizabeth was by the Hollywood thing, down-to-earth kids. I said, Bill, would you talk to Elizabeth? So he ended up talking to her, and she finally called me back after, again, the whole 6-month thing, just like with the Page.
Persistence.
Well, I guess I had on my answering machine, back in the 80s now, you had answering machines, where people would call and I'd say something like, and please leave your number at the twitch. You know, I had the twitch sound.
Oh.
So every time she heard that, she hung up. She's like, oh no. Yeah. But so she finally did call back, and I was doing my laundry, and I said, and I missed her call, and I came back and I said, I called her back. I'm so sorry, Elizabeth. I was doing my laundry. I missed your call. She goes, as you should. As you should do your laundry. So right away, just like a person, she was a person. So we finally meet at her house. She invites me over. I park in this long, gorgeous driveway off of Benedict Canyon Drive at the time. And she opens the door, and I go to greet her, and I trip. And we both laugh, and that literally broke the ice. And she says, why are you doing this? Why are you writing this book? I go, well, because I believe Samantha and Darren loved each other despite their differences. I believe that they had a strong work ethic. I believe that it was really about friendship. It was about racial unity, that no matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you are, as long as let's focus on what makes us the same, you know, not what makes us different. And she loved that. And she goes, because, you know, Bill Asher, she goes, he said to me, you really need to talk to Herbie. And she's like, he never tells me to talk to anybody, you know, that I shouldn't talk to anybody, but he said to talk to you. So it was a big deal that she talked to anyone, much less me. because she was not giving interviews. So she was a very important person in my life. She really ignited my career. In the 80s at NBC, on The Tonight Show, John Travolta, Farrah Fawcett, who was another love, dream love, Lucille Ball, Cyndi Lauper, Paul McCartney. When Paul McCartney was on The Tonight Show, everybody at NBC came down. There was like this hallway in the backstage Tonight Show hallway, and everybody from NBC came, like they left their offices. So Paul comes by this long line of people on either side, and everybody just swoosh. You know, as he walked, we all went, there's Paul McCartney. So those are the main people that I met that were David Carradine. I did the Kung Fu Book of Cain and the Kung Fu Book of Wisdom. That was wonderful from that TV show. Lydia Cornell from Too Close for Comfort, a dear friend. Larry Wilcox, Eric Estrada. Just so many. I wrote it all in a book called NBC and Me, My Life is a Page in a Book. Get it? And I don't have any copies with me, but it is online. But and hopefully that will be a TV movie one day, so that should be fun. That I would have to play me with bigger hair, real big 80s hair in those days.
Okay, so tell me about your Classic TV Preservation Society. What's that all about?
Yeah, the Classic TV Preservation Society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the positive influence of classic TV shows, where people became, doctors because of Marcus Welby, MD, or Dr. Kildare, or ER. There are those that became attorneys because of Perry Mason. Families learned to communicate more because of the Brady Bunch and the Waltons. So I was always talking about that, and then I would do book signings, or I'd make appearances like this, and I would talk about the positive influence of also good feature films as well, not just television. And then I thought, I really have to make this a formal thing. I got to turn this into a real organization. And social media came along, in 2009, whatever it was for me. And then I formed a social media page for the Classic TV Preservation Society, which, by the way, I came up with in the middle of the night. I said, what am I going to call this? Why don't I call it, I don't know, the Classic TV Preservation Society? And that's how it came to me, just like that. And so now it became a real thing. And then the pandemic hit, and then the lectures or the in-person appearances stopped, but I'm now rebooting it. So wherever you are, if you need me to come to your school, your college, your university, your senior community, your community center, your business organization, I will come and make a visit.
It sounds to me like a college class, that this would make a fantastic college class, because people I still remember episodes. I don't remember whole seasons, but I remember episodes that changed my life in television. I'm sure we all do. I'm sure we can all attest to that fact that television was a big part of our thinking and our moral formation. The Andy Griffith Show, there was an episode where Opie threw a rock and killed a mother bird, and his dad made him raise the babies. And I'll never forget that. It just changed my whole way of thinking.
That show was such a beautiful show. Mayberry After Petticoat Junction, Green Acres was a little off the wall. Beverly Hillbillies was a little off the wall. But there's just, I love to watch Petticoat Junction. There was a short-lived show called The Smith Family, starring Henry Fonda in the 70s. It's not the most wonderful show in the world, but it's very cozy, The Waltons. By the way, I'm trying to give Perry Mason answers, which are brief, but that's not easy to do, because they usually come out long answers.
All of those shows were a very big part of my life. So tell us what your mission is right now. What is it that keeps you motivated and going? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I believe we all have gifts, whatever they are. I can't count. I can't play basketball. I can swim, and I can play tennis. But I can sing, act, direct, write, and produce. And I believe we're all born to do something. And as long as it's something good, as long as it's going to make a positive contribution to to society, to your neighborhoods, to your families, you will get support. The universe, God, however you believe God to be, will come to you. There's a little whisper that was always in my head: Herbie, go to LA, or Herbie, you should write this book, or Herbie, you should, go on TV, or all this. And I never ignored those whispers. I always listened to that. I always followed that. Even when people said you couldn't do it. If someone told me not to do it, it made me more motivated. Herbie J, you'll never get out of the neighborhood. Herbie J, you'll never go to college. Herbie J, you'll never move to LA. Herbie J, you'll never become an NBC Page. Herbie J, you'll never meet Elizabeth Montgomery. On and on and on. You don't listen. I didn't. Never listen to anybody tell you that what you can't do. Always, listen to those who support you, or listen to your heart, or listen to those whispers.
That's good. That's really good advice. I had a horrifying email this last week. One of our members wrote to me and said, "Mike, I'm not writing anymore, and I'm not going to rejoin the club." And it didn't bother me that we were losing a member. It bothered me because between the lines I was reading, "Mike, I've forgotten who I am. Mike, I've forgotten my mission in life. Mike, I don't feel like I have a voice. Mike, I don't feel like I can make a difference." And it just horrified me. So I wrote her back and begged her to try to find that again. Try to find your purpose and your mission, and let that be the impetus behind everything that you do. I just think that's so
absolutely.
important.
And it's tough because, first of all, it's so crazy expensive to be in Los Angeles, number one. It's expensive in general, and the world is so divisive, and there's so many so much negativity out there. And there's the negative spirits too. You have to fight it all. As long as the light is always brighter than the darkness, and it does not matter the age. I was 58, which is relatively a little bit up there, before I got my own show, which I always wanted. And that happened because of the Bewitched book that led to the live events, that led to my Burbank live events, that led to a producer being at the Burbank live events and saying, "Hey, we want to turn this into a TV show." And I got then again with Herbie J Pilato, which is still on Amazon Prime. It's not the biggest show in the world. We only did one season, but I was 58 years old, balding, gray hair, and I still got that show. So it's not about the age, it's about following your dream to bring some kind of light to the world, just keeping focus, doing the best you can. You're going to have those I have bad days. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that book. I don't want to write that paragraph. You're always going to have that. And you're always going to have people tell you no. You're going to tell yourself no. But somehow, in this broken world, and it is broken, it's never going to be fixed. There's never going to be a pill that we can all take that's going to take away the problem. Those problems, the division is not going away. All we can do about it is be a bright light where we are. That's it. We can't tell people what to vote for. We can't tell people who to believe in, who to pray to. You just be that light. That's all you got to worry about. That's how I live it. That's how I live it.
I agree. No, that's why we're all here. We're all here because we still hold to that truth, that we have something to say. We're just learning better ways to say it. We're improving our craft, improving our skill. That's why we come to these meetings.
Well, and as writers, it's like the most important people in the world. We're the communicators. We can write our own ticket, literally. We have this opportunity to be on social media. I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it's called now, X.
Yeah.
And I always post positive thoughts. Debbie, you know that, right?
Absolutely.
I always it's not as though I don't have a negative thought, and sometimes I will post a negative thought. I'm like, no, you can't do that, Herb, because there are people. So it's not like I'm this holier than thou person. I just try to take the high road. And especially when you're in the public eye, especially if you're a writer, I don't understand the vulgarity and the violence in films and TV shows and in many novels and many books. I don't get it. Yes, those things do happen, But if you're in a position of power, which a writer is, then you take that position of power and you take the high road and you write the positive way. You don't write a clean slate of, like in Elizabeth Montgomery, okay? She was a very complicated person, but I wrote about her life in a dignified way. She was not perfect, nobody's perfect. It's the way you write. It's not the National Enquirer salutes Elizabeth Montgomery. It's Herbie J Pilato giving a true tale of her life. And we did the documentary too, by the way, which was Elizabeth Montgomery, A Bewitched Life, which was on the Reels channel, which was done with AMS Pictures, a wonderful production company, and my partner at the time, Joel Eisenberg, wonderful producer. So that was an amazing thing that happened too. But it was, the point I'm trying to make is she was a complicated person, but I didn't tell her story in an undignified way, but in a dignified way. You tell the truth, but with dignity.
No, there's real power in that. I started reading a book from an author that we had as a guest some time ago. And I couldn't get through the first 2 chapters because every other word practically was the F word. Now, to be honest and to confess, I just finished writing a book and I used the F word in the book once.
Exactly.
One time because it has power.
Yes.
If you use it all the time, it has no power. It doesn't say anything. But when you put your character in the position where nothing else is going to say what it needs to be said, but that word, that's when you use that word. And then your reader goes, whoa. Wow.
That is such a genius perception because it's the truth. It's about the drama of it. If there's a horrible moment in a play or a TV show or a movie or in your book that you're writing that you want to make that horrible moment stand out, then you use a vulgar word or a curse word or whatever, whether it's the F word or whatever. But if you use it every 2, it doesn't mean anything. And it's not as though I don't say those words, as I say those words all the time. If I'm in traffic or if I stub my toe. But if I'm on Facebook, I'm not going to say that. There's kids that are following me. It's just not right. So, but also not just in the words, but in the actions. $6 Million Man. Bionic Woman. Anybody used to watch that show, $6 Million Man?
Oh, yay.
Right? Okay, so I wrote the Bionic book. Lee Majors, I interviewed Lee Majors, Lindsay Wagner. Richard Anderson, remember him? He played Oscar Goldman on the show. He wrote the foreword. So when they were on that show, Jamie and Steve, they were bionic, right? They had special powers because they were half man, half machine, half woman, half machine. They didn't use the bionics every 2 seconds. They waited to the last 10 minutes of the show, usually, to bring out the real adventurous moments. Right, I should do this in 8th grade. So, and it meant something. You look forward to it. When Elizabeth Montgomery was doing Bewitched, she had a conflict because she was like, how come, she would tell her husband, how come I'm not twitching every 2 seconds to these guys? They're annoying. Why can't Samantha twitch them away? And Bill Asher said, the director said, you don't understand. You're Shane. Shane, the Western. Remember that Western with Alan Ladd? You're Shane. You don't bring out the big guns until the last minute, until the audience wants you to. You don't twitch until the audience wants you to. So if she was twitching every 2 seconds, just like if you use the F word every 2 seconds, it loses its power.
Absolutely. Okay, so you had mentioned movies earlier, and I just finished James Scott Bell's excellent book on writing. And he spends some time talking about his favorite movies and why. So I'm just curious, what are your favorite movies?
Let's see. 10 Commandments. I just Moses. I just love that movie. I love the dialogue. I love the actors. Ann Baxter is just amazing. Charlton Heston. Sound of Music. Just saw recently a special transcription, or what do you call it, Rob? 77 millimeter print of it at the Egyptian, which is one of my favorite movies. Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks, where he goes to the other side with Meryl Streep. I love that film. I mean, oh God, there's so many. I'm really, really into film noir now, you know, which is especially of the 40s. I watched just yesterday Double Indemnity, which I never saw, but I also like the little lesser known, little obscure movies that are done so well, that with a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. I don't know what they're doing today. I don't see any stories. I just see camera angles. I see a lot of unlikable performances in the acting, and I don't see a lot of charisma, and I certainly see a lot of violence and vulgarity, which is disturbing. But those, 10 Commandments, Sound of Music, and Defending Your Life are my top 3.
And a lot of CGI.
Too much CGI.
It's like, okay, come on. Okay, so you are going back into acting.
Yes.
Okay, what's that like?
Well, when I started out, as I said, I had the big hair. I had like Prince hair in the 80s, and that was fun. I was on General Hospital and Bold and the Beautiful. And I was just starting, I had little extra roles, you know. And if I would have stayed with it, I would have really, I think, I would have done well. But one of the reasons why I went back, or I started writing, is my parents were getting older. They had me late in life. My mother was, I think, 40 when she had me, and my father was 50. So they became ill in their senior years, and I went back to Rochester to care for them. Kind of put my life on hold for about 13 years, but I wrote, because you can write anywhere, you know, even then at the time. So that's when I started focusing really on the writing. So now that I, you know, kind of established myself, I'm not Stephen King, but I got my own little niche. And so an agent approached me and said, "Do you want to get back into acting?" I said, "Yeah." I said, you know, and I said, where do you see me as today? He goes, "Well, you'd probably be a good, you know, grandfather and father." So it went from being a teen idol in the 80s to playing grandfathers and fathers. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, you know, whatever brings in the money. But that's how different it is, you know. And certainly my show gave me, you know, when I had my show, that was a big deal. You know, again, it wasn't ABC, it wasn't CBS, it's on Amazon Prime, but it really introduced me visually. So, and I thought it's time, because I believe in God, and it's okay if you don't, but I do. And when I die, I want to make sure that before I go, that whoever is greeting me, whatever good angels, hopefully, that they say, "Herbie J, did you do everything you wanted to do? Did you do everything you signed up for before you went to Earth?" I want to make sure I say yes, because I don't want to come back here again, and I don't want to, you know, not fulfill my destiny. You know, that's really, to me, a very important part. It's a very spiritual thing for me.
Yeah. No, and life is a gift. Life is a gift, and you don't want to squander it.
No.
I appreciate that. So you're going to be, how many of you have watched Henry Winkler's transition to becoming the grandfather now in every movie?
The great-grandfather in some
Yeah, in some cases, yeah. So totally get it.
Yeah.
All right, so I have just a couple more quick questions. Your focus is on classic television. I don't know how many of you feel this way, but I feel like I am lost in the current television landscape. Everything changed. Everything is going different now than what it was when I was growing up. Can you talk about how you feel about the different landscapes, the different things that are going on right now, the transition to streaming and all of these? I keep hearing different people say, "Oh, have you watched this series? I had no idea that even existed." You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of things out there that we will never see because there's just too many things to see. So what do you think about this change in the landscape from what you grew up with and what I grew up with to where things are now?
Well, I think one of the biggest changes, there's this severe lack of likability in the performances and charm. I'm not seeing a lot of charm in movies or television. I'm seeing a lot of similar performances. Everybody rolls their eyes. Everybody's sarcastic. Everybody's mean. God forbid you have a happy ending on any TV show or any movie. No, it's like if there is some kind of happiness at the end of a show, if like, you know, Joni comes over and says to Bob, Louise just had a beautiful baby. Oh, wonderful. And I know she wanted it for the longest time. Yeah. And then 2 seconds after that, someone else comes into the scene. Oh, by the way, your mother was just stabbed. And that's how they end it. They can't end it on the happy. So I don't know what's going on with that. But it's not good. And there's no, as I was saying too, there's no stories. There's no execution. The lighting is bad. The actors are mumbling. I can't understand what they're saying. I can't see them. So there's a lot of talent out there, but it's not presented, in my opinion, correctly. And something is terribly, terribly wrong because kids are not being taught what good film is, what good TV shows are. They're not being taught how to act properly, how to direct, and how to produce. They're just going out there for shock value, and the quality is just gone terribly, terribly downhill. I don't know what the answer is. Just to keep on doing what I feel you should be doing is, you know, bringing light to the world, and because it can be discouraging. It's like one of the reasons why maybe it took me so long to get back into acting is, do I really want to be part of that scene? Or do I want to be one of the lights in there? Can I be a light in Hollywood? Can I be a light? Maybe other people get a little light with it too in the process. Maybe they'll be inspired because there's a lot of fear in Hollywood. Oh no, you can't do that. You have to be vulgar and violent. You can't, love God. You can't be a good character. You can't have a happy ending. People don't want that. Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants a happy ending. Don't you want a happy ending? Say you want a happy ending.
I want a happy ending. No, and that is so true. Even when I was in college, my dream was to be a television director. And I went to Loyola Marymount University where CBS was sending all their people to get trained, and I took my first television writing course, and I looked around at the other kids in the room, and I asked myself, yikes, do I really want to work with these people? Because they were the oddest group of people I've ever met in my life, and they were very negative, and they were very, it was just it felt like I needed a shower when I would leave. And I thought, I don't want to do that. There's got to be something else, and I went a different direction. But
and that's because a lot of kids today are 20-somethings, 30-somethings, some 40-somethings, grew up with negativity on, television or with the video
movies,
games. I'm sorry, but it does have that kind of effect. So I've tried to present the opposite of that, specifically with classic TV preservation.
Also too, we vote with our feet. When we don't like something, we stop watching it.
Yeah.
And the whole industry of entertainment is based on how many people are watching. And if we choose to say, hey, we're going to watch positive things, they'll start producing positive things.
They will. And it just takes people to take a stand and just do it. I think it's really coming around now because a lot of kids today are watching the classic shows because of MeTV and Cozy TV and all the Hallmark Channel. God bless the Hallmark Channel. So a lot of kids are seeing that there's something else out there besides, the darkness. There's just so much edginess and darkness. And the light can, gosh, I don't want it to sound so preachy, but the light really can change that if step by step.
Okay, so I have one more question because we're running out of time, and after this question we'll have our break. There are wonderful snacks. Everybody give Rita a hand for all the stuff that she does for us. And now Barbara is helping her.
I have a new helper, Barbara Grayson. We went shopping together. She helped me set up, so there's two of us again because my friend Sally moved to Tennessee. So I'm doing it. But yeah, I enjoy it, and now you're going to help her. So welcome.
We also have coffee. Anita, did you want to say something about the coffee? Okay, she does not.
Could you repeat what Rita said for the people
Oh,
on Facebook?
yeah, and the people that are, we are a hybrid meeting. We have people on Zoom. Rita welcomed Barbara Grayson as her partner. They went shopping together and they provided the snacks, which you people at home will not be able to have. You are missing out. It's quite a table.
I wanted to say to you about the raffle.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So I have my books and the videos and audio books as well over on the table, and with each purchase of one of those items, you get your name in a raffle for the grand prize of the $6 Million Man DVD set, and then a That Girl DVD, and then a copy of Retroactive Television, which is really my favorite book. It talks exactly about everything I've been saying, the positive influence of classic TV. So with each ticket you get, you put your name in there for the raffle.
Excellent. So my last question, real quickly. We come to learn, we come to see how we can do better in our own writing careers. What advice do you have for us?
As a writer.
As a writer, yes.
When you're writing, just write your thoughts down, write your story down, write your sentences, write your words. Don't worry about fixing them grammatically as you're doing it along the way. You can do that later. Just put your thoughts down as much as you can and fix it later. And never, ever, ever give up. When I sold my Bewitched book the first time, I had 60 rejections, all right, for the proposal. It was then purchased, and then it was canceled, and then I resold it, and it took me 60 more rejections, and then it was purchased, and then it was canceled. Each time my editor got fired, whatever. So those stories are everybody's writer's stories. You can't give up. Some people are prodigies. You know, they're genius novel writers at 12 years old. I was not that person, okay? Not many people are. My success came later in life, But as a writer, never give up. Don't worry about the editing. Write your thoughts down. That's the best advice. And then fix everything. Don't fix it as you go. Write. Just write. And write blogs, go on. There's all kinds of opportunities now to put your writings on all kinds of platforms, media platforms. Get a YouTube channel if you can. Get a blog. Get a blog spot, whatever they're called. Go on Facebook, use social media, talk about yourself, and bring a little light to the world. Whatever your story is, make it a good story, a beginning, a middle, an end, and make it inspiring in some way, and you will get support. You will get support.
And never, ever, ever give up.
Never.
And with that, we're going to take our break. Let's give Herbie a big hand and thank him for coming to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Debbie.
And it seems that in the Bewitched versus I Dream a Genie, you fall on one side. I think I fall on the other. Hey, you're an astronaut. You're living with a scantily clad genie who calls you master. No question. Anyway, on another one, Munsters or Addams Family?
Well, I got to go with Bewitched, of course, because it's because of Elizabeth Montgomery that I have a career. But Jeannie was a great show. There was no doubt. She was a different character than Samantha was. And as far as Addams Family or Munsters, I'm going to lean toward the Munsters. Just a little funnier. Addams Family should have been better. It wasn't, in my opinion.
Then you're with my wife. I'm definitely Addams.
Interesting, and I was amazed at how each of the different television production companies would see somebody would do something that just sang, and the other ones would try to catch up with it.
Yeah.
Do their own version.
Right, right.
Any other questions? Oh yeah, Catherine.
Do you have a favorite screenwriter?
No, I don't. Now that you say that, I have to think about that. I've always thought in terms, isn't that crazy? I've always thought in terms of overall films or TV shows. I mean, there were so many great writers who came from television, you know, like Danny Arnold, and who started on Bewitched, and then he did Barney Miller. Bernard Slade started on Bewitched and went on to do Same Time Next Year, and I talked with both of those for my books. Gosh, I'm stumped. You stumped me. You should get a prize for stumping me, and you will. We'll give you a free mug.
Okay.
All right?
Wow. Hey, anybody else want to stump it?
So I wanted to really get your professional opinion on how do we divide the type of writing that we do, not divided in a physical way, but to choose mainstream media, which most of these classic shows were on, than streaming services. Like you got your big break from mainstream media, but then your dream show, or one of your dream shows was on a streaming service.
That's true.
And it's like, it's so competitive, but I just feel that you have more freedom as a writer with the streaming services, whereas mainstream media still kind of has writers in a box in a way. Am I looking at this, or am I overthinking
Well,
it?
it's harder, and yet it's easier to get into the industry today. It's harder to get things produced and written, and yet it's not, because there's so many different ways to do it. It's really about just somehow making yourself known, and then once you've made yourself known in any, whatever fashion that is, then you'll have a choice to do what you want. You know what I mean? So you've got the opportunity is in your hands. If you're looking for someone to discover you, or to say, oh, you're fantastic, you've got to put yourself out there and just give yourself as many chances for someone to maybe discover you. But you make your own way. Make your own way. Don't wait for someone to say, okay, we'll put you on ABC, or we'll put you on Amazon Prime. I wasn't looking to have my show. In the back of my head, I wanted it. But I was just going every week to the Burbank Barnes & Noble, hanging out with my classic TV star celebrity friends, and just talking. And said, you know what? Because the Barnes & Noble people asked me to do a talk, just like this. And then they said, we want you to come every week in July for 2015. Well, the thing became so popular, I ended up doing it every week. And I was doing it for free. Nobody was paying me. I was just having a good time. And out of that love, I was actually investing money into it. But I wasn't thinking about what the end result was. I was just doing it. So just, again, it comes down to just do it. There's a book I wrote called The 12 Best Secrets of Christmas, which is about growing up, my personal memoir, growing up in Rochester in the 60s and 70s. I tried to sell it with an agent recently, and so she could go send it to production companies. She told me, write the script first. Back in the day, you would get a commission, or not a commission, yeah, you'd be commissioned to write a story treatment. Then if you sold the story treatment, then you'd get like, $500,000 to write the script. Well, now, people are like, do you have the script? They want everything now, up front. That's the real big difference of the industry today. For someone who's just trying to break into screenwriting or try to make yourself known. If you're Stephen King, it doesn't matter. If you're, whoever, some great writer that I can't think of, it doesn't matter.
And one more question. Documentaries are better on streaming services to write a documentary? Because I've seen a lot more on streaming services than I have on mainstream media.
Well, they're also easier to make. Again, people are making these things before they get money to do it. They're just taking their own money. I was fortunate enough that I sold the idea to the Reels channel to do my documentary on Elizabeth. But a lot of people are just doing it. They're getting funds together, they're getting creative people that they know, cameramen, directors, producers, gophers, whatever, and they're just doing it, and then they sell it either through one of the film festivals or whatnot, or they just keep on pushing it to an agent. So it's just do it. If you have the wherewithal, if you have the initiative, write the script, finish the book, do the documentary, get the money somehow in legal ways. and then just go do it and then sell it.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, back over here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I know there's differences between self-publishing versus the traditional, going the traditional route. But I was curious as to what is your take on self-publishing?
Well, self-publishing is not what it used to be. Before, you'd get ripped off a lot, or there were a lot of, agencies and publishers out there who were not always on the up and up. But self-publishing is becoming a big thing, and a lot of people are becoming very successful, either through Amazon, where you can just publish your own book there, or several other different publishing companies. Publishing is not what it used to be. First of all the big companies are eating each other up. So there used to be like 10, 15 different big publishers. Now there's what? Random House and Simon & Schuster, which are, together now. And then there's,
Five.
what's that?
Big five,
The
they call it now.
big five now. But if the books that are selling are like politics or celebrity. So if you're not a celebrity or you're writing about politics, you're going to have a hard time selling your first book. Yet, two, you can either sell it through a proposal and you get an agent, and a proposal is like a 40-page outline. And there's a great book out there, it's called How to Write a Book Proposal. It's by Michael Larson. I completely recommend it. Or you self-publish it and it becomes a hit, and then maybe a traditional publisher picks it up, and then you're published again with a traditional publisher. So there's just so many different ways to do it. You could either do the book at once, like we were talking about with the screenplay, or sell it with a proposal. You could either sell it and either publish it yourself or get it published through a larger A-list publisher, a New York house, or one of the Midwestern houses, or you find an agent. There's just so many different ways to do it. I published the Bionic book, my NBC and Me book, and my Life Goes On book through Barron Manor Media, which is a wonderful publisher. But I'm thinking too, if I would have sold, or if I would have written NBC and Me on my own, I could have done it through Amazon. But I got a lot of rejections too from the bigger publishers. And so if you get rejections from the bigger publishers, that's the way you want to go, then, and they all reject you, then you go to the B list, then you go to the C list. And if you end up on the D list, fine. And if you end up on no list, then you self-publish. It all depends on how much money you have, what you want to do with the book. Do you want to make a lot of money with the book? Do you want it to be therapeutic for you? Do you just want to give it to your friends? It all depends on where you're at with the book, or with whatever it is you want to do in your career. If you want to become a superstar writer and a millionaire, not everybody can do that. If you want to get your name out there and just do it, you might become a success just by the joy of writing the book. Just like I got my show, not thinking about it, but just by the joy of doing it. Just by the joy of doing those live events, which ended up becoming a show.
Any other questions? This is your time.
And remember, we still have, if you get one of the books, you get a ticket, and then you get a free, you get into the raffle. So don't forget that.
I got here late, sorry. I thought we started at 11, so I didn't hear your talk. So
Okay, I'll go over it again.
Okay, please. So I don't know if you covered this, but I remember when Cher did infomercial, it was
Yeah.
on hair, and it was such controversial. How dare she do this? It's demeaning. Well, I also remember if you were a film and you went into television, it was considered demeaning to you, like you were less of an actor or actress. Is it the same way in writing? Is there kind of like, this is the best media to be in for writing? You know, if you're doing Broadway, that's better than doing a series. You know what I mean? Is there any kind of hierarchy?
Not anymore, I don't think. I mean, because back in the day, film was film, the big screen. TV was TV. If you were a film actor and someone asked you to be on TV, no, I can't do that. I'm a movie star. Jeffrey Hunter, who was the original choice for the captain on Star Trek, he played Jesus in King of Kings, and he was into movies. But Gene Roddenberry wanted him to be in the lead of Star Trek before William Shatner, and his wife said, no, my husband's going to be a movie star. He can't do TV. Well, he never became a movie star. William Shatner ended up becoming a movie star because he remade Star Trek on the big screen. So today, there's mobile phones, there's streaming, there's YouTube, there's regular TV, there's Netflix, there's there's all movies, there's all this blur. The lines are blurred between TV and film, so it's not what it used to be. So as a matter of fact, there are major movie stars now that are on TV shows. Jodie Foster, right? Major director, major actress, certainly Oscar winning. She's on a television show. Meryl Streep's on a television show. It's okay, it's considered cool now because there's money involved. That's why.
Thank you.
Mike, you had a question?
What is your favorite genre to read? If you're going to buy a book, what's your preference?
Classic TV history. This is going to sound crazy, but I don't read novels. I have a very short attention span. Isn't that horrible? My mom used to say, I can't retain things, she said, and I kind of like inherited that from her. So I'm a nonfiction. So I like self-help books, I like motivational books, I like entertainment reference guides. But no, I don't read novels. Is that bad? Cut that off the YouTube.
Okay, get out.
I was gonna say, that lets you out here. You just lost 3/4 of your own.
Okay, so
The thing is, what's strange is that my nonfiction 12 Best Secrets of Christmas book, I'm writing the script for, but it's when you write the script for a nonfiction book, you have to write a novelization of the script first, which is the story treatment. So there you go. So I guess I love it anyway.
Now, Herbie, you didn't know this coming in, but this has actually been an intervention.
It's a trap.
And we're all here as your friends and people that care about you, and we want to help you understand where you're going wrong in life. Any other questions?
No, it's a comment. I want to tell you you're not alone. If I have a short attention span. Use the microphone.
Oh, you're not alone. That's just what I want
Thank
you to
you.
know.
Thank you for being there for me.
Thank you. I have a short attention span, and if I read a novel, I'm halfway through or whatever, and I must have 5 novels with the bookmark in there. Never finished. So I'm not really a novel person.
Thank
so
you. You get a free book.
And there may be others. There may be others that are hiding, but I'm
You know what it is too?
I'm confessing.
That's hilarious. You know what it is too? That's like with TV. When I watch new shows, I try to watch the new shows, but it's like, okay, so watching the show, and then there's a million commercials, and so after the commercials come back, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I watching? I forgot what I watched. That's one of the reasons why I can't, in addition to the other stuff I talked about, is that the commercials break it up, and it's the short attention span. Yeah, so thank you.
My pleasure.
Other questions?
Someone had a question?
Okay, I'm going to start this way and work my way across the room.
Herbie, did you ever have an interaction with Red Skelton?
No. He died before. I used to love him. What was I used to love the Red Skeleton show. He had the bum, what was his call? What was the bum called?
Yeah, he and
Freddie the Freeloader. I used to love that.
well, he and people like Sid Caesar on their shows. A lot of the writers and producers we have today, they got their starts on their show.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
Most of them.
Well, Don Richardson, who was one of the directors of I Remember Mama, Bonanza, Lost in Space, he came from the stage. He was actually one of my teachers at UCLA, so that was nice. that I had that kind of connection. But yeah, a lot of people got their starts on Jack Benny, obviously, and George Burns and Jackie Gleason, Red Skelton. Steve Martin got his start on the Sonny and Cher show. Remember that show? That was a great show. That was a great show.
Okay, next question.
Can you say something you can admire about modern day television or film?
I'll try. No, there's a lot. There's a lot of talent in TV and film today, on screen and behind the scenes. There's a lot of heart, but there's just a lack of guidance. There's a lack of guidance. It's so important to be likable when you're a character or an actor. Example, Larry Hagman on Dallas, right? JR was an evil character. But Larry Hagman's performance was likable as JR. JR was not likable, but Larry Hagman was. So there's a lot of talent that I very much respect. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of good intentions in movie making today and on television today. But there's too much, I see a lot of this acting kind where they're conscious of the camera. They're always moving and not being the character. There's no focus. I see a lot of actors trying to compete with each other on screen instead of, would you just please act? Stop trying to be stand-up comedians in these sitcoms and act. So yes, I admire the talent and the drive, and I don't think they know that they're lacking something. That's the sad part. They think that it's cool what they're doing. They think that there is something good, and there is good, but not as much as watch the classics to learn about what good filmmaking is. Watch the Ten Commandments. Watch the film wars of the 40s. Watch the great sitcoms of the 60s. All in the Family and the Jeffersons and Maude and all of that was great. And I commend Norman Lear for creating those realistic comedies. But I miss, the gentleness of... I was watching That Girl last night. Remember That Girl, Marlo Thomas?
Love that.
I got the DVD as a giveaway here. Marlo Thomas wrote the foreword to my new Christmas book, Christmas TV Memories, which is all about the classic specials of the past, Christmas specials. And she did That Girl, and it was about an episode where Carlos, can't think of the actor's name, from The Flying Nun, was guest starring on it. And Marlo was playing Anne Marie in a skit about actors. And she was doing a fake accent on Latin, on a Latino fake accent. And it was offensive to the Latin group that was, and Marlo Thomas was talking about that in 1970. That was big, before Norman Lear started addressing prejudices. Bewitched was talking about prejudice. It was an episode of Bewitched called Sisters at Heart, where Tabitha befriends a young African-American girl. And they go to the park and they're made fun of because they can't be sisters and they want to be sisters. And the little bully at the park says, you can't be sisters because you're not the same color. That was a major episode long before Norman Lear started talking about prejudice and racism. Bewitched was doing it. Clearly Bewitched is the best thing in the world, right? Okay. There's nothing better than Bewitched. So did that answer your question at all? I mean, not really, but I respect a lot of the talent. They just need some guidance.
I have to stand up because I'm too short to sit.
Well, me too.
Anyway, I have a screenplay, and what I'm running into is this low budget or a big budget? And I think mine is probably about halfway in between. So could you kind of define what's going to be low budget and what's going to...
Oh gosh, I think the most important thing that you should think about with your screenplay is the story and the dialogue. And
think all that's pretty good. So.
Don't worry about, just don't worry about what your vision is. Just create your vision. Don't worry about who's going to love it and who's not. Come, do it, turn that around. Just write it. Write what you want it to be. And be great at it. Excel. Don't write for acceptance.
Okay.
Be exceptional in what you write. How about that? Don't write for acceptance. Be exceptional in what you write. That's mine. You vote.
This is one question I want to ask. I'm really happy to see our president back. I know he was ill, and he came back like wildfire. Puts on a nice show today for us, and I want to thank him for doing it.
Actually, I was not ill. I was traveling. I went on a trip to Peru to do research for a book that I've written. And funny story, we got halfway to Peru, halfway to Lima, and our plane was redirected, and we ended up in Bogota, Colombia, and drove through some of the scariest streets I've ever seen in my life in the middle of the night trying to get to a hotel in Bogota. So that's a whole nother story.
And that's a book, I'm sure, somewhere, some kind.
Yeah, there's a story in there. Any other last questions before we do the last raffle for Herbie's materials?
I just have a comment. I have to go back to when you were being interviewed by Mike, when you said that it seems like all the stories nowadays have a unhappy ending.
Yes.
A bad ending.
Yes.
And when I was taking my mass media analysis class, I'm a PR major, we did that whole analysis. And sadly, we live in a world that bad news sells faster. And it comes down to money. You know, and then now we're on an emotional roller coaster. You have a movie that came out, Inside Out 2, and they're expecting the 3-year-old to understand the message in an animated movie.
I don't understand the movie.
You know, I'm just like, we're on an emotional roller coaster with just all the content that we receive as news consumers, as TV consumers, just an emotional roller coaster. Because I grew up on Bewitched, you know, and I'm 51, and I'm like, I loved her, like, you know, that was like my show, you know. And
do you remember that episode of Sisters at Heart with Tabitha?
Yes, yes, yes. And I was like, and then I see all this, I hate to say it, I don't want to sound negative, but like a lot of garbage. Yeah. And I have a 22-year-old son, and a lot of kids his age get so misguided because of the influence that media has on our younger adults.
And then there's people that say that media does not have an influence on. I mean, come on.
Oh, gosh.
That is just insane. You know, I am living proof that the media can have a positive influence. I went on to have a career, you know, in writing and in TV because I was inspired by all those wonderful shows, because of the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm friends today with Damon Evans, who played the second Lionel on the Jeffersons, you know, and it's like, what a kick is that? I mean, I remember watching that show in, what, 75, 76, and here I am friends with him, you know. So, yes, there is a lot of negativity, and yes, negativity sells, but let's change that. Let's change that together.
Yes.
Okay, come on. Everybody, yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.